by Gerry Armstrong to talk about his selection in this our feature we're having about a British-Irish selection of soccer players from the Premier League sort of area. The only catch is we're looking for players from Ireland, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, minus the players from England. So I suppose, first of all, Gerry, it's important to note that this is the Premier League area. So important players like John Toshak, Kenny Dalglish, Liam Brady, Johnny Giles, Pat Jennings, yourself, for I mentioned, unfortunately, you're not included in this selection. But there's many legends there, and I know Johnny, as from speaking of past, he'd be bitterly disappointed, Mr. Giles, that he's not in this. But we're looking specifically for players of the Premier League era. That's mainly the 1990s, 2000s, and 2010. So what we have done for people listening here is we have put together 4 players in each category, from goalies, right backs, centre midfields, all from a different nationality. So, Gerry, we've put this to you already. You've already selected your selection, so we're going to go through it. So I'm just going to go through the nominees for the goalkeeping position. We have Neil Sullivan, who played for Leeds and Wimbledon throughout his career, made 28 appearances for Scotland. We had Wayne Hennessy, who made 89 appearances for Wales. More prominently, played an awful lot of his club career for Wolves in the Premier League. We had Shay Given for Blackburn Rovers and Newcastle, and made over 134 appearances for Ireland, played in World Cups. And then with the Northern Ireland representative is Roy Carroll, who played for Wigan and Manchester United and made over 45 appearances for Northern Ireland. And so, Gerry, you've opted for Shay Given. I suppose a unanimous sort of verdict in many people's eyes. What was your thoughts behind Shay getting the nod for the goalkeeping position?
Well, the fact that he played over 130 games for the Republic of Ireland tells you it all for me. I mean, I love Pat Jennings, and in my opinion, Pat was probably the best goalkeeper in the world for at least 5 or 6 years, and he only got 119 caps for Northern Ireland. So, you know, Shay Given, in my opinion, was a much better goalkeeper than the other 3, and the other 3 were brilliant goalkeepers, I might say. But no, Shay Given always was going to get my vote in that one.
Yeah, and I suppose, Gerry, if you look at probably who was closest behind Shay Given, would you say, you look at Wayne Hennessy, he's got 89 caps for Wales, probably a prominent club career. Well, you look at Neil Sullivan, who manned the sticks for Leeds and Wimbledon for numerous years, probably a better club career for Neil Sullivan over Wayne Hennessy. So would he be your number 2 behind Shay in that position?
I probably would go for Wayne Hennessy, but it's very close. Both the goalkeepers, Neil and Wayne, are both excellent goalkeepers, but I just felt that certainly for me, Shay was a much better goalkeeper than the other 3, and there's not much between the other 2 for me. It's just a question of consistency is what you're looking for in footballers, and certainly as a goalkeeper, you want consistency. You want somebody who you know is going to get you a 7 or an 8 out of 10 every week and not make too many mistakes.
Yeah, and I suppose, Gerry, we'll move on to the right-back position now. The nominees here were Alan Hutton from Scotland, Ashley Williams for Wales, Seamus Coleman, Ireland, and Chris Baird, Northern Ireland. Alan Hutton, 50 caps for Scotland, probably played an awful lot of his club career with Tottenham Hotspur. Ashley Williams, 86 caps for Wales, played an awful lot of his club football, probably for Swansea, a catalyst for Swansea getting up to the Premier League. Then probably not as much prominent for Everton, his club career in Everton. Seamus Coleman, I suppose he's been an ever feature since he's broke into the Everton team, captain of the Republic of Ireland. He was captain for Everton for long periods as well. And Chris Baird, 79 appearances for Northern Ireland, and probably known for his club career in Fulham.
Yeah, Chris Baird was a very versatile player. I wouldn't have seen him just as a right back. I saw him play as an anchorman in midfield for Northern Ireland at club level as well. And a smashing lad, great player. But, I look at Seamus, and I knew Seamus Coleman before he actually moved to Everton. I remember when he was playing League of Ireland, Pat Jennings' son used to tell us about him and say what a fantastic player he was. And once you saw him play across the water and you saw how good he was, it was always going to be Seamus for me. Attacking wise, getting forward, I have to say Hutton was brilliant as an attacking fullback. He had a great spell at Tottenham, but the consistency, again, you look for consistency in players, and I thought Seamus Coleman was an outstanding choice and would always have been my first choice.
Yeah, you opted for Seamus in the right back position, and people will look at, say, maybe Ashley Williams when he broke in his time at Swansea. He was very influential, but it sort of dipped, his career sort of dipped a bit towards the latter stages of his career. And if he had kept up that form, would have been higher up the ranking for you?
He would have been, but it's again, I said it at the start. You, as a player, as a manager, you look at players with consistency who deliver the goods week in, week out. And I just thought Seamus was the most consistent player for me.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the centre-backs, and we'll go through the centre-back pairing first of all. And we've Colin Hendry, who made 51 appearances for Scotland, a key influential part of Blackburn Rovers' winning Premier League team. Danny Gabbidon, Wales, 49 appearances, played an awful lot of his club career, a bit of a journeyman, played a good lot of his club career for West Ham. Richard Dunne, I suppose a catalyst for Republic of Ireland, and especially the time they reached the World Cup in 2002. 80 appearances, played an awful lot of his football for Manchester City before the Go era spending came about in Manchester City. And Gareth McAuley, 80 appearances for Northern Ireland, played an awful lot of his football for Leicester City, especially when they made their championship breakthrough and got up to the Premier League. And you opted for Gareth McAuley in this position.
Yeah, now this was a really tight one because, Dunne was a fantastic centre-half, but I looked at Gareth McAuley and his goal-scoring record, and he scored some big goals. As a centre-half, if you can score goals as well as be a good defender, plus he did it the hard way. Gareth played, for Glentoran, Coleraine in Irish League football before he went over the water. He was a late developer, and he played for a long time. He was very consistent, and he just pipped Dunne for me.
And I suppose, what about Colin Hendry? I suppose he was an influential player for when Blackburn won the Premier League, especially in Euro 96, a fantastic Euro 96 as well, Colin Hendry. And was it longevity was the reason that Colin Hendry wasn't considered in relation to maybe of being at the top of his game for numerous years? But certainly, when Blackburn won the Premier League in 95 and Euro 96, he was...
Listen, Colin was a fabulous player, and he had 2 or 3 really brilliant years. But again, I go for the consistency over a long period of time. Gareth McAuley's only just retired. He's 38, 39 years of age. So he's only just retired. So, that in my opinion says an awful lot about him as a professional. And the fact, I don't think he might have been 24 when he actually moved over to England to play. So to play non-league football till you're 24, 25 and then go and play for another 15 years after that and do what he's done and score the goals he's done. Just thought he was my first choice.
Yeah, and I suppose Gerry, we'll move on to the other centre-back option there. We have David Weir, Daithí Weir, as many people know him from Everton, 69 appearances for Scotland. Johnny Evans, 84 appearances for Northern Ireland, played an awful lot of his club football for Manchester United, now at Leicester City. John O'Shea, 118 appearances for Republic of Ireland, played an awful lot of his club football with Manchester United and then with Sunderland. And James Collins, 51 appearances for Wales and played an awful lot of his club football with West Ham. And I suppose you've opted for Johnny Evans, I suppose the only currently active player in this list at the moment.
Yeah, and the other thing about Johnny is when I first saw Johnny as a 13-year-old at the Milk Cup in Northern Ireland, I was working for Adidas at the time, and I was looking for young talent to sign, and he was the first person I signed for Adidas as a 13, 14-year-old and for a contract. And I saw him play for Antrim in the Milk Cup, and he might even have been playing against Everton, but he played the Milk Cup and he played centre-half the first half, and I thought he was unbelievable. And the second half, he played centre and midfield, and he was so good. 2 feet, really comfortable on the ball. Manchester City were trying to sign him 3 or 4 years ago. I bet they wish they had signed him before he moved to Leicester. I think Manchester United made a big mistake when they let him go. Top quality player, and what a wonderful centre-half, and he's still playing, still going strong. But I'm going to ask you a question as well. Why wasn't Paul McGrath in that? Did he not play in the Premier League?
I started considering the 95, 96 sort of era, and I'm just looking there, we had a talk and discussion. We've Ian Harte there instead of Dennis Irwin as well, which many people will feel.
There's a few names I would have had in, definitely.
Yeah, but just in relation to John O'Shea, 118 appearances for the Republic of Ireland. I suppose people who look at John O'Shea probably more fondly for what he's done in the green and white jersey for Ireland rather than probably at club level. And for John, possibly it was in and out in terms of Man United, but really came on strong then when he moved away, and certainly became more renowned when he went to Sunderland, and even Arsenal were looking at him when he went to Sunderland.
Yeah, no, John, I love John. Good lad, great lad, fabulous player, and certainly he's up there. But when I put him up against Johnny Evans, Johnny had a wee bit more going from. Johnny was a bit of a Rolls Royce for me. And I've seen him play so many games over the years and saw the quality he's got, and he just edged it. But no, John O'Shea is another one. Fantastic servant for the Republic of Ireland, and made many appearances. Maybe his club football, he could have played for bigger clubs and better clubs, but Manchester United. He wasn't always in the same position as well. He was again sometimes being versatile goes against you.
And I suppose, Gerry, I suppose it'd be hard before we move on to left back position not to mention Daithí Weir. The longevity Daithí Weir's club career at Everton for numerous years. He was the anchor of the Everton sort of defence. And people in the Merseyside looked at him in the same way they look at Phil Jagielka and what his time at Everton. So Daithí Weir, I suppose, deserves his place to be mentioned in this list anyway.
Anybody who gets into the four or deserve it to be in there because they're quality players. They're all fantastic players. It's just difficult decisions, and you have to make the difficult decisions. And you go down to the nitty gritty, and you find, maybe a little bit of quality, better quality on the ball. Might have been the difference of opinion there, but he was a fantastic servant for Everton. But I still stick with Johnny.
And I suppose we'll move on to the left back position now, and we've Andy Robertson flying with Liverpool at the moment, Scottish international, 34 appearances. Chris Gunter, who played 96 appearances for Wales, played an awful lot of his club career at Reading. Aaron Hughes, 112 appearances for Northern Ireland, played a good lot of his club career at Fulham. And Ian Harte, 64 appearances for Ireland, and probably a catalyst in relation to Leeds United, especially their Champions League era and the run. A dead free kick specialist as well. Ian Harte produced many goals for Republic of Ireland and Leeds in key games. But you've gone for Aaron Hughes in this selection, and people will be surprised given Andy Robertson nearly on every sort of Premier League pundits team of the year so far in the last few years.
He's still starting. Andy Robertson's still a young lad. And he's been brilliant in the last couple of years. But I'm talking about longevity. And again, Aaron has just retired at 39 years of age. Probably played a lot of games at Newcastle as a centre half, and also a lot of games at fullback. Both positions, very versatile, brilliant athlete, and he would be a better defender than any of the other three, in my opinion. And he certainly wouldn't be as good maybe getting forward as Robertson. Or any of them. He was probably the not the best at getting forward, but as a defender, I thought he was the best defender, and I thought what he achieved over a longer career than the others. So I went for consistency and longevity.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll move on to the midfield section, but we'll just run back now on Gerry Armstrong's goalkeeper, Shay Gibbon, back four, right back Seamus Coleman, centre back Gareth McAuley, centre back Johnny Evans, and left back Aaron Hughes. So we're going to move on to the midfield, and I suppose we're going to start with the right midfield spot. And in this position now we have James McFadden, first of all, 48 appearances for Scotland, played an awful lot of his club football with Everton, scored some crucial goals for Scotland as well. Simon Davies, prominent club career with Tottenham and Fulham, played over 58 appearances for Wales. We've Jason McAteer, 52 appearances for Ireland, played an awful lot of his club football with Blackburn and especially Liverpool. And Keith Gillespie, 86 appearances for Northern Ireland, and probably one of those key players in Newcastle under the Kevin Keegan sort of era when Newcastle were competing for Premier Leagues. And you've opted not for a Northern Ireland man in this spot, you've opted for a Republic man in Jason McAteer, and give us your reasons behind that.
Well, he played at big clubs and he played big games. And again, I think that the likes of Keith Gillespie certainly could go past people and create. He had a great spell, not so much at Manchester United, but at Newcastle. You know, that Newcastle team when Les Ferdinand was up front and he put in some fantastic crosses. And they looked like they were going to win the league. Unfortunately for Kevin Keegan and him, it didn't happen. I think that's when they signed Asprilla and it went wrong. But David Ginola was on the other flank. But Keith was good going forward. But I always thought that Jason McAteer gave us a little bit more from a defensive point of view. And I thought it was a tight decision, I have to say, but he deserved it, in my opinion.
I suppose midfield, centre midfield spot, we're going to move on now. We've Gary McAllister, played an awful lot of his club football with Coventry, and then what he did in Coventry earned him a move to Liverpool. Gary Speed, Lord of Mercy, is not with us, departed Gary Speed. A great career at Newcastle and Leeds, the Welsh representative. Roy Keane, I suppose Roy Keane, we see in Match of the Day, he's winning awards for a captain and most influential foreign player. Played an awful lot of his club football, obviously, with Manchester United, and captained Ireland for many a year. And Neil Lennon, then the current manager, back again at Celtic, played an awful lot of his club football, Neil, in the Premier League, and played an awful lot with Celtic as well. And he's a Northern Ireland representative. I suppose no real great shocks in your selection here. You've gone for Roy Keane. I suppose there'll be some eyebrows raised if Roy wasn't got his spot in this team.
Well, I could have phoned Neil Lennon up and he would have said Roy Keane as well. And Neil was one of my discoveries, and I saw him as an under-21 when he was at Manchester City, but he was playing as a fullback, and he was released by Man City in the summer of that year, and he ended up going to play for Dario Gradi at Crewe. And then about a year and a half later, I watched him play in the centre of midfield for Crewe Alexander when I was scouting for Northern Ireland, and Neil was a wonderful anchor man in midfield, but nobody is going to get close to Roy Keane. Roy would play virtually in any position. If you wanted to play him as a right back, he could have played anywhere, you know, and he's just the type of player everybody wants in their team. So there was never a contest, and that's no disrespect to the other guys. Gary Speed, what a player.
Yeah.
You know, fantastic player. They're all good names. As I say, if you get into that four, you're in a really high category. So, you know, I don't think they would be upset that Roy Keane has pushed in front of them there.
Yeah, I suppose the other midfield spot is tightly fought as well. You've Darren Fletcher, played an awful lot of his club career with Manchester United. Aaron Ramsey at Wales, currently with Juventus, very prominent in Arsenal. One of those youngsters who was supposed to bring Arsenal to the next level. Stephen Reid, Republic of Ireland, a combative defensive midfielder, played an awful lot of his club football with Blackburn, now the assistant manager of Scotland. And Stephen Davies, the Northern Ireland representative, played an awful lot of his club football with Southampton, captain Northern Ireland for numerous years. And you've gone for Stephen Davies, and Stephen Davies gets the nod over someone like Aaron Ramsey in this situation for yourself.
Absolutely, and again, it's consistency and his quality. I mean, I watch him play virtually all his international games, and he's always a 7 or 8 out of 10, and he scores goals. He's double figures from midfield and international football. You know, he was voted Scottish Player of the Year when he played for Rangers, and he played at Aston Villa. And, you know, I just think a lot of people have underestimated Stephen. He's still playing now at his age, and that's credit to him. Aaron Ramsey has a wee bit probably more technically going forward, but he's not as complete a player, in my opinion, as Stephen Davis. And I would always have went for Steve. He's just been superb, and he's very close to beating Pat Jennings' record. You know, in the next couple of games, he can equal and beat Pat Jennings' record, which I never thought anyone would get close to.
Yeah, I suppose, Gerry, we'll move you on to the left midfield spot. And I suppose we were putting this list together, and we saw the names on the left midfield spot, and we said, God, this is going to be a real tough decision for anyone that's going to pick this. Charlie Adam from Scotland. Charlie, a fantastic Premier League player.
Great left foot.
Ryan Giggs, Manchester United, Wales. Damien Duff played an awful lot for Chelsea, Republic of Ireland, World Cup 2002, lit it up against Spain. Chris Brunt, probably one of the best free kick players and set piece specialists in the Premier League. So if all the positions, if you're looking for quality, there were certainly numerous contenders here in the left midfield spot. And Ryan Giggs gets the nod, but the other three, I'd say, would feel themselves very unlucky.
I think they'd be pleased to be in there. Duffer was a great player, great taking people on, going past people. But you look at Ryan Giggs' career and what he achieved at Manchester United, and some of the goals, the goal he scored at Arsenal. You know, I mean, he went past about 5 different players before he put it in the top corner. You know, he could win a game on his own, and I thought that he edged it definitely for me. But again, a very close, very tight category with some fabulous candidates there. And
what do you think about Charlie Adam, a player with gifted sort of talent, scorer of spectacular goals? But was it the consistency over the long period of time that Charlie could have been a better international player than what he looked back in his career?
I think he had a fabulous left foot. When he hit a ball from 30 yards, my goodness, he really could strike. He scored some spectacular goals. But if you look at the goal scoring record of Ryan Giggs,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable. It's outstanding. None of them can get near his goal scoring record, and that was always going to edge it as well. His longevity, the length of time he played, he looked after himself as a footballer. He did it all for Wales. He didn't get an awful lot of rewards, obviously, for Wales. They didn't qualify for an awful lot, but then that happened to the likes of Mark Hughes and people like that, But I think there's no other choice for me other than Ryan Giggs.
So that's the midfield complete. We look back in the midfield selection. In right midfield is Jason McAteer from Republic of Ireland. Trigger, as they affectionately know him here in the Republic of Ireland. Centre midfield is Captain Fantastic himself, Roy Keane. Also by another captain, Stephen Davies from Northern Ireland. And left midfield is made up by the current Wales manager, Ryan Giggs. We're going to move on now to the forwards, the number 9 position and the number 10, the most reliant forwards win you games, goals win you games, and each category here now we've picked the players from each different country. And we're going to start off with the number 9 jersey, and first up we've Duncan Ferguson for Everton. 2 spells at Everton, 230 appearances, 58 goals. Surprisingly for Scotland though, 7 appearances, no goals. Gareth Bale, 83 appearances for Wales, 33 goals, a frightening statistic. Kevin Doyle played an awful lot of his club football with Reading, and very prominent goal scorer in the Championship and the Premier League. 64 appearances for Republic of Ireland, 14 goals. And last but not least, Northern Ireland's all-time record goal scorer, David Healy, 95 appearances and 36 goals for Northern Ireland. And you've opted for, I suppose everyone would opt for him, Gareth Bale.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a fabulous player. He's not just the centre forward. Gareth could play anywhere up front. He can play on the right-hand side. He's great at cutting in on his left foot. I've watched him, at Tottenham, and I've watched him playing for Wales, and I've watched him playing for Real Madrid. He's done it all. He's got so much ability. His pace, his power, his left foot. He scored goals with his head. He was always going to be my first choice there. And there is some very good candidates, but listen, I had to go for Gareth, and I don't think any of the other 3 guys should be upset that they've been gazumped by Gareth.
Yeah, and I suppose lastly, the other forward position, a sort of tight race here. Kevin Gallagher, 53 appearances for Scotland, 9 goals. 144 appearances for Blackburn Rovers, 46 goals. A terrific scoring return for Blackburn, and a real catalyst when his partnership with Alan Shearer when they won the Premier League in 1995. Himself, he was there with Chris Hutton and Alan Shearer in a prominent sort of trio. A great goal ratio for Kevin Gallagher. Robbie Keane, 146 appearances, 68 goals. Ireland's all-time record goal scorer. Robbie Keane as well, a prolific player with Tottenham Hotspur, scored many a goal for Tottenham. And Kyle Lafferty, 73 appearances, 20 goals. And then Craig Bellamy, 78 appearances, 19 goals. And Craig Bellamy, when you look at his club career, the clubs he's played for says it all. Liverpool, Manchester City, Newcastle. So I do believe if you're looking at this modern era, you'd say a straight shootout between Robbie Keane and Craig Bellamy. But Kevin Gallagher, for his time at Blackburn Rovers, was very prolific as well.
Absolutely. But again, Robbie's appearances for the Republic, and he's not just the top goal scorer for the Republic, he's the top goal scorer in the British Isles. That includes any English player, Scottish player. I mean, this young man had a knack of scoring goals. He was just unbelievable. And his career at Coventry, he started off, he played everywhere he went. When he went to Italy, he scored goals. Robbie's just a proven goal scorer. And he was always going to get my shout, without a shadow of a doubt. It was always going to be Robbie.
So, Gerry Armstrong, that concludes your 1 to 11. In goals, Shay Gibbon. Right back, Seamus Coleman. Centre back, Gareth McAuley. Centre back, Johnny Evans. Left back, Aaron Hughes. In midfield, we have right midfield, Jason McAteer. Centre midfield, Roy Keane. Centre midfield, Stephen Davis. Left midfield, Ryan Giggs. And up front, Gareth Bale and Robbie Keane. And if I can ask you one player that we haven't mentioned so far, if you to put him on the list, or who would be in the team for you, who springs to mind?
Well, there's a lot springs to mind. I said to you earlier about Paul McGrath. Paul was just a Rolls Royce at the back. Great player, and served his country well. Manchester United. Graham Taylor raved about him when he was at Aston Villa and he couldn't play. But there's loads and loads of good players that we haven't mentioned. If I go through it, there would be a lot more. But no, there's certainly plenty of others. And there's some good names that obviously are in there that were unfortunate not to be selected.
On that note, Gerry Armstrong, a pleasure talking to you this evening. Thanks for giving us a Northern Ireland perspective and a universal perspective on the British Lions modern Premier League era team, your 1 to 11, minus, of course, the English players. Gerry, take care, stay safe, and hopefully we speak to you sometime again in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
No problem.